we've talked a lot about this in between media this season. There's going to be curveballs coming your way.
Hate's a strong word. I dislike Kirk Cousins more than probably any other quarterback in the league.
I get a little bit of that rookie-itis, you know?
I would have said, I would love some of what you're smoking.
Even though I strayed, I'm still stuck between an interpretation, what it all means. Can I make a difference for something different? My mind in prison, then I saw the vision. Played the field, it's no competition. Found success through the repetition. If it's impossible, stick to the mission. I'm just cruising through on my way to get it. I found myself somewhere in between. Yeah, I found myself somewhere in between. Found myself somewhere in between. Yeah, I found myself somewhere in between. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
So one thing that really sets us apart here is we're not afraid to talk about other things that maybe aren't super fantasy related.
Do what you can to become a better person, to become a better human.
All right. Welcome in, everyone. It is December 14th. This is the Fantasy Football Playoffs, and this is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, back with you again, back with my pals who are back in the country after a week away in Cancun, a weekend at the Denver Broncos games. Nate, Jen, how are you guys doing? How have the last few weeks of fantasy football been treating you?
Good. I'm great. Fantasy football's great. Everything's great.
Jen, how are you doing with your teams?
Well, I am 12 of 13.
Here we go.
In every league, and then the ones that we co-manage, I'm in 2 of 3, so 14 of 16 total. I'm in the playoffs.
Not bad. And to be fair, one of those co-managed teams is one of the worst orphans I've ever seen. So the fact that we won any matchups was a miracle in that league.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
I think overall I'm doing okay. I'm in 10 of 11 so far. Jen, nice. I know you and I are still hanging around the Scott Fish Bowl here in the second round of the playoffs too. So that's been a lot of fun as well. Made it out of our office league into the playoffs the first time. Nate, you were the defending champion. You go down in the regular season. How the rest of the league shaking up, man?
Well, out of 21, I made it into the playoffs in 11. Didn't make it into Scott Fish Bowl. But I mean, given how many leagues I'm in, I'm pretty pleased that I made it into that many.
Yeah.
I can't complain.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a test of grit this year. Did you get any relaxing time away from the game when you were down in Cancun at least?
Yeah, we watch like no football. So I honestly only know a little bit about what's going on in this present moment.
Our Wi-Fi was so bad, I couldn't even check scores on the CBS Sports app.
Wow.
So
I would be a mess. I've been glued to my phone the last couple of weeks, been absolutely glued to the TV, been a couple late nights up kind of rewatching these games, trying to get the most out of them overall. Guys, tonight we do have a loaded show for everyone. We're going to get people ready for the playoffs. It's been 14 weeks of hard work to get here, and we're going to make sure that they pay off here over the next 3 weeks, win the championships. Trophies are handed out here in just a couple weeks. Guys, you know where to find us by now. I'm at @BetweenSeth_FF on Twitter. Nate's at JanateJackFF. And Jen is at Jen Polvote on Twitter as well. The show, everything you guys want to follow here at In Between Media, our columns, YouTube series, everything we have going on. Follow us on Twitter at IVT_media to get all the latest from In Between Media. This week, guys, Friday night, Santa's coming, baby. We have the second ever in between the holidays holiday live stream party. Super excited to be joined by everyone at In Between Media, as well as 18 other of our favorite fantasy football analysts in the industry. Guys, we have games, we have fantasy football, holiday discussions, interactive audience experiences, and some shenanigans along the way, I'm sure.
Always shenanigans, especially that last group. That's going to be all shenanigans. Absolutely. But I'm here for it.
The fun, it's kicking off at 7 p.m. on Friday night. So hang out with us. We'll be here from 7 p.m. until midnight. Got a lot of hard work going into the production of that. So thankful for our team here at In Between Media for helping us get ready for that. Tonight on the show, we got front and center for you. I'm going to break down the latest injuries, general playoff advice. Then we're going to go into some would you rather, a little bit of holiday stuff for you. Also a little bit of rest of season, who are you taking and why. We got some sure thing sleepers of the week, players you can find out there on your waiver wire right now if you need to play. And we'll round it out with some weekly advice. Guys, I want to kick things off here with Front and Center. Front and Center is presented by our friends over at Monkey Knife Fight. We've been working with Monkey Knife Fight for a couple months now, guys, and it's been an absolute blast. If you're into fantasy football, fantasy golf, fantasy UFC, really all the content we have here at In Between Media, I highly, highly suggest that you check out Monkey Knife Fight, guys. They got a lot of fun, more or less games. If you want to check them out, make sure you use the promo code IBT. You're going to get 100% match up to $100 and a free $5 game, because that's how much we love you here In Between Media. That's how much our friends love you over there at Monkey Knife Fight as well. Guys, let's head into it front and center style.
Sometimes taking that first step out the door is the hardest thing to do. Give it a chance, you'll be begging for more. Save the spot just for you. We're all somewhere in between. How about you come to the place we can have some fun? Ain't gotta worry about knowing not what it means. Come and give me another, cause the night is young. At least I so thought.
This just in. Breaking news. Front and center.
All right, guys, front and center. You know how we do it here In Between Media. We just want to break down the latest headline, guys, because a lot has happened lately. But I do want to start with some general fantasy football playoff advice, guys. Over the last couple of years, what have you noticed that successful teams have done, and what advice can you give to our audience tonight? Nate, I want to start with you, man. I know you were victorious in a couple leagues last year, gritted some out with teams that weren't, no offense, all that talented, but you really got the job done. So how do we do it here in 2021?
Well, I think my biggest piece of advice is don't get cute. Like don't start a waiver wire ad over a stud like Devontae Adams unless like there's an absolute matchup where you just can't start Devontae Adams and you have to start, say, like Amon-Ra St. Brown over him. Otherwise, don't get cute and don't be afraid to pivot, because sometimes you just have to. If a player's not producing for you and they haven't produced for you, even though you drafted them high, sometimes you have to pivot away from that, and don't be afraid to do that. This is all about winning. Whatever you have to do to win, you should do.
It's definitely a fine line there, Nate, between, getting cute, but we've also seen a lot of good players over the last couple of weeks kind of really take a dump on our fantasy teams. Chances are, if you have some of those guys that have underperformed, a Terry McLaurin and DK Metcalf, you might not be in the playoffs. But if you are, you got to be willing to pivot. But like Nate said, if you've had these studs, if they're producing, ride them out. I like that, Nate. Jen, any overall advice here for our audience tonight?
I mean, kind of the same. With everything being so thin, it's hard to add those waiver wire guys right now. There are guys out there you can, but again, go off of matchups. Like Nate said, even though you may have drafted somebody high, don't worry about that. Worry about what's happening in the weeks to come, defense and all of that.
I think the other important thing here that leads me to, Jen, as well, is to play a little defense yourself. If you see that your quarterback or your opponent is streaming quarterbacks or tight ends that week, a defense, go out and grab it just to block. You got to do some blocking here in the playoffs. A couple weeks ago in Scott Fishbowl, I picked up 4 different quarterbacks, not because I needed them, but just so my opponent didn't have a quarterback that week to play. So that's the kind of stuff you have to be doing. Well, some of the advice that I recommend here is I'm pivoting to try and force more wide receivers into my lineup. I'm still not getting cute. I'm not benching any stud RBs, but right now the production is with those wide receivers. We saw it last week. Wide receiver 30 was Jarvis Landry. He had over 15 PPR points. And then RB 14, only RB 14 had less than that. 14.9 was Devin Singletary at RB 14. So I really think if you're shooting for upside here in the playoffs, which I highly recommend you do, I'm afraid of a low floor. We know that. We know what it can do to you. But at the end of the day, I'm shooting for upside. So I think I'm forcing more of these wide receiver threes into my lineup. The Jarvis Landrys of the world, the Brandon Cooks, even like the Van Jeffersons, I think. Nate, do you have any problem with that?
No, not at all. I think it's smart.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Glad to hear it. Guys, if you do have any questions, head over to our YouTube page. You can check us out over there, _YouTube, or excuse me, _media on YouTube. Guys, let's talk a little bit about injuries because unfortunately it's always a part of the game, and week 15 was really the same. Lamar Jackson here, he goes out. He has an ankle injury right in the first quarter of the game, leaves with 1.8 PPR points on the day. Really put a lot of fantasy teams in holes here in a pivotal week. Tyler Huntley, though, he steps back in for Lamar Jackson. Mark Andrews has a huge game, over 30 PPR points. Hollywood Brown, he managed to scrape out with 9 PPR points as well. Guys, what was your impression of the Ravens and how they fought without Lamar?
Dude, it was amazing. Going back through and rewatching some of the film from that game, it was pretty decent. I was pleased to see it.
Well,
minus Hollywood.
Well,
he can always do better.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Hollywood is going to be if Huntley's in long term, Tyler Huntley's not going to be airing the ball out. And that's what Hollywood Brown kind of survives on.
Yeah.
So guys like Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews are going to be far more relevant with Huntley in, depending on, Lamar could be back next week. We don't know.
We do a report from John Harbaugh that he is expecting Lamar to be out there here in week 15, but he said you never know. So keep that in mind. But I think that's my big takeaway too. Hollywood becomes a shaky wide receiver 3 if Lamar's not out there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Another injury here, guys. Kareem Hunt. Really kind of been a brutal fantasy season for Kareem Hunt managers. He's unlikely to play now in week 15 as he goes out with the ankle injury. Do you guys have any interest in Ernest Johnson for he might be the RB2 for the Browns here? Keep in mind, he's had one decent game this season with Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt in the lineup. That was 9.9 PPR points in week 8. He had a rushing touchdown that week as well from just about outside the 20-yard line. So are you guys interested at all at Ernest Johnson, and are you comfortable dropping Kareem Hunt?
I don't think I'm comfortable dropping Kareem Hunt yet. He's been very disappointing, like you said. But I like Ernest Johnson. Honestly, I do. I think that he has good upside. If he's given more opportunities, he's had some pretty big, decent games, but that Kareem Hunt injury is just brutal for anybody who's got him on their team.
Yeah. And I think there's opportunity. They've got their next 3 games are Vegas, Green Bay, then fantasy championship week is Pittsburgh. I think he could be good against Vegas and Green Bay. I think he could have big days, even with Chubb in.
Pittsburgh has looked awful against the run the last couple weeks as well, so I think they could exploit him there. I will say, though, I think I'm kind of rinsing my hands of this Cleveland offense for the rest of the season as much as I can outside of Nick Chubb, maybe or a Jarvis Landry play. If I need a tight end, Austin Hooper, but I just don't think you can trust Kareem Hunt the rest of the season. Even if he misses these next 2 games, I'm not going to feel comfortable sticking him in my lineups week 16 or 17 in the semifinals. So I think I personally am washing my hands of the 2. I think you need to have Ernest Johnson on your roster though, because what happens here if at the end of the day Nick Chubb somehow gets COVID once again and he's out, because we know it's going around the Browns facility. So keep that in mind. I think you need to have Johnson, but I'm not playing him.
Yep.
Other one here, guys. Terry McLaurin leaves with a concussion. Jen, one of your favorite players to start off the season. Even before this, it has been atrocious for Terry McLaurin this season. Wide receiver 46 since week 8. So he has been unplayable here as of the last month and a half. Jen, do you have any confidence if he comes back this week and plays?
Yeah, if he comes back and plays. But that's the thing, is it's like he hasn't played. Like, it's been weeks of disappointment. I mean, he's had, a couple of good games, but not as of late. Like, I need him to play. And I don't even know who they're playing next week. Philly, maybe?
Philly,
Are you
Yeah.
playing him against Philly if he's in?
No, probably not. No.
Oh,
I'm
really?
not. I don't
I
think
would.
I'm out, especially with there is also an injury to Taylor Heineke. Keep that in mind too. Like, we know who Kyle Allen is, the backup. He's a professional quarterback. He's been in Ron Rivera's system for a long time.
Right.
I just think, honestly, outside of Antonio Gibson, this is another offense rest of the season I'm hands off on.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I went in so hot on all of Washington, and to see this whole team just crumble has been so upsetting.
Nate, you have a little more confidence in Mclaurin if he comes back?
I mean, he's the wide receiver one when he's healthy. So whether it's Kyle Allen or Taylor Heineke, he's going to get looks. And I get Kyle Allen isn't a starting quarterback in the NFL for a reason, but he's almost like kind of that, not as good as Case Keenum, but can do that like 1 or 2 weeks where he's asked to do something. He can actually play decently. He did it in Denver. It's like, oh, Kyle Allen's our new starting. Oh, week 3 of him starting is bad.
Yeah.
But if he has to fill in for a week or two, I mean, I don't hate the Mclaurin play. Obviously, if you have a better option, play him. But if you don't, and you're like between him and like seeing what's on the waiver wire or somebody's dropped, I'd play Mclaurin for sure.
All right, last one here for you guys. Deandre Swift, he missed this game. TJ Hawkinson also missed this game. But Swift, there were rumors before week 14 kicks off that Swift might be heading to IR. Are you guys having any confidence in Swift if he comes back? Because we don't really know what's going on here. Dan Campbell came out this week, said he might be back this week. We don't know with injuries. Dan Campbell is just an abomination of a head coach and a professional when it comes to this type of stuff with the media. So I'm not that much of a Swift manager this season. I was last season. Like, the Lions just bone you. That's what they do. Like, you don't know what information is coming out there. Like, you guys have any confidence? Because I'm on the side that Swift might not come back this season. Craig Reynolds, he stepped up here in his absence, 11 for 83, and then 2 for 16 in the air. So he had double-digit PPR points. Jamal Williams, Nate, you highlighted in your column, Jamal might be back this week. Any confidence in this Lions backfield at all the rest of the way, or is this another hands-off sitch?
I mean, for me, yeah, I'm with Jen. I'm hands off. Yeah, I don't trust that Deandre Swift is going to be back. I love Swift too, Bo. I promise. But I just don't think he's going to be back this season. And there's no reason to bring him back. And I hope that Dan Campbell's smart enough to see that, like, let the kid get healthy and we'll try again next season. We've won one game.
They're 1-10 or 1-11-1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
What's even the point? Let him get healthy and let's focus on him next season. Like, no sense in putting him in for nothing.
It is tough for Dan Campbell, though, keep in mind, because he might be fighting for his job. We don't really know what the leash is like there in Detroit, but as we just said, 1-11-1 doesn't look great. So it's up in the air right now. Do you guys have interest in any of these other players off the waiver wire that we've talked about? Craig Reynolds, we know Igwebuike.
Igwebuike?
Igwebuike?
Yes, there you go, Nate. Yeah.
Igwebuike.
Yeah, I kind of like Obi-Wan or something. I think we should call him Obi-Wan. I like that better. Like, it sounds like a Star Wars name. But any interest in Craig Reynolds, Ernest Johnson, any kind of these Tyler Huntley, any of these waiver wire fodder that we're dealing with here?
I mean, unless you are looking to replace Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
No, not with Taylor Huntley. Craig Reynolds isn't worth an ad. There are other guys out there I'd rather grab. I just don't think he's going to consistently produce. This is the first time he's had one other game. We had 1.7 points in fantasy over. This is now his 3rd season in the NFL. So,
yeah, and good point from our guy AF Kalilo here on YouTube. Whatever his name, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He fumbled once, and then he almost fumbled again later in the game as well. So yeah, good point here. this is another backfield I'm washing my hands of until Deandre Swift is back in the lineup. Want to move on here, guys. We did see some great performances in Week 14, starting with Hunter Renfrow. Actually, we highlighted Hunter Renfrow in a segment early in the season. He was one of our in the scope candidates, a waiver wire pick a week early. I think it was week 1. We talked about him, Nate, maybe right after the draft. I can't remember, but either way, he has been exceptional. He goes 13 of his 14 targets, goes for 117 and 1 in Kansas City's just dismantling of the Las Vegas Raiders. We can talk about the logo dancing if you guys want, because that was just an abomination. But Hunter Renfrow, guys, PPR wide receiver 3 since week 9. He has carried the teams that I have him in. Been absolutely outstanding. 9 targets a game over that stretch. Where do you guys want to go with this one? Logo dancing, Hunter Renfrow's a beast. Which one do you want to talk about?
I mean, I think he's been balling out the last few weeks, especially with Darren Waller out and Carr not looking super awesome. He's been leaning heavily on Renfro. If Waller comes back, that could impact him a bit. Yeah. But where's Waller been? As like the lion's share of all of my teams, I had Waller. And it's just like, well, wish I'd picked up more Hunter Renfro.
Mm-hmm. I don't care if Waller comes back healthy for Hunter Renfro. I mean, I do because I need him to come back healthy. But I'm saying the impact on Hunter Renfro, I don't care. Because Renfro's the wide receiver 1. It's not Bryan Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
Henry Ruggs obviously is gone. I just think he's going to get – we're 3 weeks straight of 21, 19, and 27 points.
Whew.
9, 10, and 14 targets.
Yeah.
He's only had 1 touchdown in that 3-game span, and that was last week against Kansas City. He hasn't needed he's not touchdown dependent because he's catching the ball so much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great play, and it's not going to stop. I mean, it's been fairly consistent through most of the season. He's putting up numbers. He's had a couple down weeks, 17 points, 16 points, 12 points, 11, then 15, 18, 13. He's producing.
At the end of the day, the way I look at it is I see Hunter Renfro as a wide receiver 1 the rest of the way. If Darren Waller gets back, I see him as a wide receiver 2.
I think his floor is probably a low-end wide receiver 2, and that's if Darren Waller comes back, or a high-end wide receiver 2.
Gotcha. All right, DK Metcalf, guys. He's someone who has been struggling a lot. I've been getting some DMs over the weekend, going into early this week. Is DK Metcalf startable here? Is he start worthy in the playoffs even? And, for someone we were drafting within the top 24 picks of a lot of drafts here in 2021, it's very disappointing to see. But he's been bad. He fails to reach double-digit points once again here in Week 14. That's the 4th time in 5 games he's done that. He's wide receiver 56 over the last 5 games. I mean, just atrocious play by DK Metcalf. And Tyler Lockett's been a wide receiver 1 during that span. So it's not all on Russ. Rams, Chicago up next. We might see some Jalen Ramsey from him if he's off COVID-19 list. And then, the Chicago defense has been solid. Devontae Adams kind of went loose on him this weekend. But are you excited at all to play DK Metcalf and are you at all?
I mean, not for me. I mean, if you've gone to the playoffs with him, it's likely that you have another top 12 wide receiver who isn't DK. And I mean, out of an abundance of caution, I'm saying no until week 17 against Detroit. Seattle's been unpredictable at best, I would say, outside of Lockett.
They look like a team that doesn't care, like from top to bottom almost. Like they're going through the motions. They're lazy. Russ just doesn't look like Russ doesn't look like he cares.
He wants to go elsewhere.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be in Seattle anymore. Yeah. And that makes it hard to really want to play much of anyone in this offense outside of Tyler Lockett. I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but is Russell Wilson bordering on benchable if you have a better option? He's not the automatic play he used to be. Like
no, that's been a really big discussion lately. I mean, he's been better as of late, Russ. He's gotten close to 20
But-
points the last couple weeks. So, I mean, he's a fringe QB1 at this point at best.
Right. Yeah, I'm not comfortable starting DK in the playoffs. And I
Okay,
won't.
I'm not either. I have him in a couple places. I'm just want to go through a couple names. Tell me, would you start them rest of the way over DK? T. Higgins,
Yes.
Yes.
Brandon Ayuk,
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
No.
That one's close
Yes.
for me. That one's really
Yes.
tough because he
Yeah,
has
I
been getting
would.
that backfield. If there's no Swift, I think I do take St. Brown just because he's been lining up in the backfield and getting those dump off passes like we've seen Williams and Swift getting. Last one for you guys. Really digging here off the 3-pass game on Thursday Night Football. What are you doing with Kendrick Bourne? Would you take him after getting just 0.3 PPR points? Mac Jones, 3 pass attempts on Thursday Night Football.
I don't think I would. But I'm not saying that I'm down on him because of the 3-pass performance. I just don't think I'd start Kendrick Bourne over DK Metcalf.
Agreed.
Yep. Fair enough. I'm with you guys there. I'm still rolling DK over Kendrick Bourne. Want to round out our discussion here with just talking about a couple of our favorite defensive plays rest of season. Believe it or not, there are still a couple of defenses out there that are available in a handful of leagues that I'm interested in getting. I think I already have 2 or 3 on most of my playoff rosters. At this time of year, you might as well have that. Jen, do you have any defenses that you're targeting or you suggest our audience targets?
I mean, at least for the immediate future, I would say the Chiefs. Like, I am one who I change up my defense almost every single week. I'm switching it out. I'm looking at matchups, and I might get a team that isn't in the 10-point projected area, but they're in the 8. And it's like, I'm not willing to hold on to a defense just to hold on to a defense for an entire season. But what we saw from the Chiefs when they blew up Las Vegas, I mean, we've got Frank Clark and L'Jarius Sneed, if he's back, DeAndre Baker. I just think that they're set up for success over the next several weeks. So if they're out there, pick them up. If you've got a, smaller league, I'd say roll with them.
I have a combo here that I'm pretty interested in playing. They're available in at least 50+% of leagues, if not more. Jen, I definitely like your call as well with the Chiefs. They've looked great the last 6 weeks, maybe the best defense in the league. I'm interested here in the Bengals against Denver in this upcoming week. They've averaged 10 PPR points over the last. I think the Bengals, they're a safe play. Their defense has been pretty good, low key as well. And then the Chargers for week 15 and 16, Houston and Denver, divisional games. I like what I've been seeing from the Chargers defense as of late. And they've only hit negative once, the Chargers defense. And anymore, that's really what we're looking for from fantasy defenses. And that was all the way back in week 5 when they just got trampled by the Browns on the ground. Nate, are you interested in any of these defenses that we ran off or any of your own?
So, yeah, Chiefs, obviously. That's a great call from Jen. I like the Bengals defense kind of against Denver, but I think Denver's getting better. And I think that maybe they might sneakily beat Cincinnati, and their defense might find some holes. I like Denver's defense week 15 and 16. I also like New Orleans defense week 15 and 16. They've got Miami and then Carolina. And while I know Miami's been better, they're still making mistakes, and their rushing game hasn't been fantastic. I think that bodes well. But then week 17 against Carolina, I mean, yes, please.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, Cam Newton has not had the return we all thought he might right off the rip for sure.
Right.
He looked great that first start.
First 2 plays. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm back, baby.
Guys, I want to do something we don't really talk about much here in between media. Kickers. Here coming up the next couple weeks. It's honestly been a tricky year of kickers. We've seen a lot of streaky kickers. Nick Folk for the Patriots, he's been pretty outstanding. Tyler Bass has been really good as well. Daniel Carlson's been solid, but outside of those guys, it's kind of been like take your pick at these top 16, 18 kickers. Do you guys have any favorite kickers that you're riding with who could be out there that people should be playing?
No one that's out there still, more than likely. I mean, my two that came to mind was Justin Tucker and Harrison Butker, but again, they're going to be snatched up. Tucker, he's always dependable. He's an ass, but he's dependable. And then Harrison Butker, he's only missed 3 field goal attempts, and only 2 extra points this entire season. So like, if you have Harrison Butker, again, with kickers, I change them out every week. Harrison Butker and Justin Tucker are not ones I would mess around with. They're snatched up and people take them in earlier rounds that I'm comfortable taking a kicker, and I'm willing to say bye to those points every season. But
what round did
solid.
What round did someone take Tucker? Was it the 4th in our home league?
4th or 5th. It was like super early, and I was like, "What?" And then they took Washington's defense in the next round, and I was like, "I don't know where I am right now. I don't know."
And they made the playoffs.
She is last seed. Yeah,
but still, she made it.
She did make it.
She made it. I'm going to I like Matt Gay. I've been getting good production out of him. I've been happy with his consistency. But here's a kind of, not a dart throw, but a guy that I really like is Brandon McManus rest of season.
Yeah.
With Denver's schedule. Cincinnati, I feel like they're going to be kicking a lot of field goals. Vegas, hopefully they're going to be scoring a lot of touchdowns, so lots of extra points and like some junk time field goals. And then they played well against the Chargers. And I think Denver, maybe they beat the Chargers, and maybe part of that's Brandon McManus. They already beat him once. They didn't just beat him. They dismantled them.
They did.
I can only think of one super disappointing miss from McManus. Otherwise, he's so dependable.
And we were all so mad when they released Matt Prater to keep Brandon McManus. We were all so big. And, dude, it has turned out to be one of the better things this organization has done.
Matt Prater's still good. Don't diss on Matt Prater.
I'm not going to diss on Prater, but, it's working out, so...
All right. Last two I want to highlight for you, and I actually highlighted them in a column last week. My girlfriend Katie, she was filling in for Jen, writing our Friday Night Insights column. It was wonderful. It was a great column. We featured a couple kickers at the end. Someone who I guarantee is out there in leagues right now, look for Jake Elliott. The Eagles, we know they have an up and down offense, but Jake Elliott was, prior to week 14, top 5 in the league in total points kicked. He's only missed 1 field goal this season. Jake Elliott, if they can get him down in the field goal range, he's going to get the job done. Other guy I'm looking for here is Greg the Leg Zuerlein. He's kicker 13 right now overall in leagues. However, he's missed 2 games. That's what a lot of people are forgetting. They're looking at overall scoring and points forced from Greg Zuerlein, and it's not great compared to some of the other kickers out there. But he missed 2 games with the injury. The Cowboys, they've struggled a little bit more offensively as of late with Tony Pollard banged up, Zeke not 100% too. But they are top 5 in offensive yards and points. So I'm looking for him. Hopefully those RBs being down as well also helps more field goals like it did this last week. Yeah, that was some great kicker talk, guys.
Hey, kickers. I don't hate kickers. I don't know why everybody hates kickers so much.
I like kickers more than I think I like defenses. Defenses are tough anymore in the NFL. But
yeah.
But what's not tough, guys, is our Would You Rather segment coming up, presented by our friends over at Underdog Fantasy.
Underdog, guys, if you're not familiar, you are really missing out. If you like DFS, or maybe you've never played DFS, Underdog is the perfect platform for you. Simple games, cheap buy-ins, and right now, when you sign up with the promo code IBT, you'll get a 100% deposit match of up to $100. That is $100 in free money, guys. We've got the weekly fantasy contests where you go into a draft with 12 other people. It's not like DraftKings where it's everybody has the same players. Plus, we've got the prop picks that you can stack to win up to 20 times your money, and it's across all sorts of sports. We've got MLB, NFL, NHL. We've got golf. It's all of it. Check it out. sign up with the promo code IBT. You'll get a 100% deposit match of up to $100.
Yep. Hundo,
Seriously,
baby.
it's free money, a free $100.
Absolutely. If you guys want to learn more about Underdog Fantasy, you want to get some advice over there, head over on Sundays to our DFS Tailgate show on YouTube, live streamed on Facebook and Twitter as well. Bo McBig Time and our guy Connor Coughlin. He does an awesome job over there. They're always winning money. So get in on it, guys. It's smart economics. Try out Underdog Fantasy today. Let's get into some Would You Rather.
Risky business or that fair say. Are you that hard on the rise? We're chilling with a cold one, feeling bold one, or hold back. Would you rather? This ain't no simple matter.
All right, you guys know the drill here. Would you rather? We got feel-good lifestyle questions. I got fantasy sports questions for Jen and Nate. They're just going to tell me, would they rather do A, B, or possibly C? There might be a C in there tonight, guys. I want to start with running backs because, I mean, it has been a surprising year at the RB position. We look around, Leonard Fournette, one of my favorite players, but definitely didn't see this coming. He's RB3 on the year right now. James Conner is RB6 on the year. I don't want to focus in on Connor because he's one of my biggest misses this season. A lot of people have been burned by him in fantasy seasons past. Comes out, he's been absolutely phenomenal this season. He's RB6 on the season right now to Alvin Kamara's RB12. I want to ask the question, Nate, Jen, rest of season, would you rather have James Conner or Alvin Kamara? As we noticed, or as we mentioned, James Conner, he has scored more total points. Kamara is still averaging more PPR points per game on the season. However, over the last 5 weeks, only one running back has averaged more points than James Conner. How are you guys feeling right now? James Conner, Alvin Kamara, rest away. I cannot believe we are saying this.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough, but for me, it's probably James Conner. I only have him in one league versus Kamara. I have him in, I think, 3. But like you said, he's just been lights out these last several weeks when he's healthy. And for the rest of their slate, they'll probably still be winning. Detroit, Indy, Dallas, and Seattle. I don't see those to be problems for them.
Yeah, look, it's Alvin Kamara, but James Conner's just simply been better. And he stayed on the field, which Alvin Kamara is not. And he's back, but with an ankle issue, you always worry about re-injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was out for 4 weeks, but you still worry because that stuff can linger. I mean, ask Jen and I. We've had a lingering ankle injury for like 8 weeks, and it just
That's
won't go
being
away.
old. It's being old.
Well,
That's our lingering.
That's fair. I just think so. They've got Detroit, Indy, and Dallas coming up. These are, and with the loss against the Rams, they need to keep winning games. And it's going to be very important to get James Conner involved. And he is been so good in the red zone. I think you kind of have to go with Conner here.
This is really, really tough. I mean, you guys know I was really high on Chase Edmonds coming into the season. I think Chase Edmonds lost his job, guys. I mean, Connor has not only been great on the ground, but have you guys seen these one-handed catches the last couple weeks? It has looked like, no doubt, like OBJ type level catches, like best plays of the week for James Conner. That all being said, oh man, this one is so tough. I mean, if you have either one, I think I'm riding, happy. But I think James Conner might. I mean, the trends, man. I'm following those trends. We saw it a couple years ago from Kenyon Drake in this system. It is a PPR point heaven for RBs. I think I'm riding Conner the rest of the way.
You guys, I think we're gonna have to fire Bo. I mean,
we have Bo McBrayer here in the chat asking or saying that Chase Edmonds is a better player, and I thought that coming into this season as well, Bo. So I'm with you on the Edmonds train. Yeah, I did want to actually bring this up. We do have a comment on YouTube. Is Conner okay? He looked hurt at the end of yesterday. We haven't got any word out from Arizona yet if he is 100% healthy. there were rumors going around that this could possibly be cramps. He, of course, stayed on the field because the clock would have expired due to the runoff if he came off. But we don't have 100% confirmation that Connor's okay. But we haven't got word he's injured yet either. So I think you should be okay with Connor.
He's undergoing an MRI.
Okay. Well, there we go. So
yeah.
Stay tuned for more information. Chase Edmonds, he was held out of this one. Hopefully we get James Conner back. Stay tuned to our content this week though, because if we do have news that Conner is out, we'll definitely be talking about Edmonds later on in the week. Guys, I want to shift over to lifestyle real quick. New Year's Eve, it's coming up. It's always a pretty decisive time for people. Do you want to go out? Do you want to go out to the bars, or do you want to stay in? My would you rather question, spend New Year's Eve in Times Square, Green Bay, Wisconsin. So do you want all the action? Would you rather have all the action in Times Square, New York City, baby, live from New York, or Green Bay, Wisconsin?
Neither.
Nope.
You have to pick one.
Okay. Yes. When I was in my 20s, definitely Times Square. Of course. But I've heard horrible stories from friends who have been for New Year's Eve.
Oh, really?
And I just can't. You're not allowed to use the bathroom. You're not allowed to drink. There's so many restrictions, and it's literally a marathon because you're there for 6, 7, 8, 9 hours, and you're literally allowed to do nothing. You can't just sit down or wander around. And if anyone else has a different experience, I'd be open to hearing this because I would choose that over Green Bay. But at this time of my life, I think Green Bay just might be better over New York.
I'd take Green Bay at this point in my life over New York.
What would you do in Green Bay for New Year's?
I have no idea, but at least I'd be able to take a piss
and sit
and have a drink, not just stand in Times Square and pretend to be merry while Mariah Carey stumbles through a song. I mean, I get the draw, but
yeah, I do too.
No,
and in my 20s, I definitely would have.
For sure. And Times Square is awesome. We've been in the last 6 years and it's amazing. But can you imagine, Jen, that place on New Year's Eve?
Mm-mm.
No.
Do you guys know what I would do in Green Bay, Wisconsin on New Year's Eve?
Eat cheese.
I would do that. I would also drive around the neighborhoods of Green Bay, the nice neighborhoods, find MVS's house, and egg that son of a bitch.
Dude, what did he ever do to you? Is it his name? Do you not like the number 13? The name's too long. That's what it is. Seth can't handle the long name.
Too difficult to pronounce?
No, I just think he's an awful player. Too much love every year. Every year I have to read freaking waiver wire pieces at our own company talking about MVS. It was 2 weeks in a row this year with you and Bo both.
I know, and it was great.
Moving forward, guys, would you rather rest of season? Let's talk about the big men. They deserve a little credit as well. Would you rather have George Kittle, Mark Andrews, or Travis Kelce rest of season? Let's set the stage here. George Kittle, since he's returned from injury, he's had over 20 PPR points per game on average, so he's been the best since week 9 on average. Mark Andrews, on the other hand, 16-plus PPR points on average as well. Travis Kelce, only 13.6 PPR points on average. He had a very disappointing week 14 in a time you needed him most. Next 3 coming up for Travis Kelce, the Chargers, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. So an okay schedule. It's just okay. Mark Andrews, Green Bay, Cincinnati, Rams. Again, I would just say that's probably okay. I think George Kittle has probably the nicest schedule. Atlanta, Tennessee, Houston. This said, Nate, who are you taking? These 3, man.
Give me all that Kittle. I love the schedule. I love that he's got 39 and 34 points in his last 2 games against Seattle and Cincinnati. And then Atlanta, Tennessee, Houston. Yeah, man. Give me that. I'll take it. Kittle for sure.
Yeah, I'm not pushing any of them out of bed. They can all just stay with me.
Where am I going to sleep?
On the floor.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry, honey. But, I mean, at this point, take any of them. They're all great. Their matchups are a little bit different. Again, I'm very matchup dependent on all of these guys. Kittle obviously has the numbers for you, but Mark Andrews is dependable. Kittle,
Tight end 1 on the season, Mark Andrews, baby.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Kelsey speaks for himself. Seriously, any of them.
I'm a little worried about, like, I'm not like, I'm not kicking Travis Kelce out of bed or anything, like, so, like, I think I'd rather have these other guys next to me before Travis Kelce, if we're being honest here, guys. I mean, we don't know what I think. If Elijah Mitchell comes back, I think George Kittle's ceiling goes down a little bit because it pushes Deebo Samuel more back to the outside rather than the backfield. Mark Andrews looks like he's quarterback proof. That's what I love about Mark Andrews here. The 2 games with Hundley, he's had very good performances. I had George Kittle and Mark Andrews both in Scott Fishbowl this last week, and they absolutely – I lost Lamar Jackson. First thing, in the playoffs, you have to score a ton in this league. Lost Lamar Jackson. I was sweating bullets. And then Mark Andrews and George Kittle came in for me. So they'll always have a special place in my heart after that game. All right, guys. That is
you're not sorry.
That is Would You Rather. We're going to go ahead and move into our Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week, presented by our friends over at Stevens Quality Barbering Services. Actually heading up to Noah's tomorrow to grab that haircut. Noah's been hooking us up here at In Between Media. A lot of us for, last 5, 6, 7 years. If you want a quality haircut at a quality price, just an overall quality experience, head to stevens-quality.genbook.com. Book your appointment. Get on with it at Noah's, man. The holidays are right around the corner for you guys. Get hooked up by Noah. If you're anywhere Western, Central PA, I promise you it's worth that commute. You have a fantastic time over there. If you're in the area, stop down, State College as well. See your guy Seth. We'll grab some beers or something. Guys,
Get
let's
that
go
Christmas
ahead.
haircut.
Yes. Let's go ahead and head into our Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week.
It's the Sure Thing. Sleepers of the Week.
Every time we do this segment and you guys come back from like some exotic place, I'm just sitting here in like 35-degree weather, like hoping for a 45 degree weather day. And here you are coming back from the beach. We do have a comment on YouTube. I do want to address AF Kalilo on YouTube. Would a Stevens haircut be worth a trip from Wisconsin? 100%, my guy. 100%. I used to live like an hour and a half away from Noah, and I would go every month. I'd go up there, and even across the state, I would go 4 hours for a haircut one way. So yes, it is worth the drive from Wisconsin. Bring us out some cheese. You'll get one on the hookup, I'm sure. We appreciate that. Guys, we've done a lot of Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week this year. 14 now to be exact. Week 15 is all the more pivotal. We need confidence. I need confidence in these players. Nate, can you give me confidence in someone heading into Week 15, the playoffs? I'm trusting you with my lineup here, buddy.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, guys. I wrote about him today. He was my hot selection in my column. Hot. So I was high on him coming into the season. Wasn't sure how much he was going to do in that offense. Didn't know if he was going to be featured much. Here we are, Week 15. He's primed to be the wide receiver one in that offense rest of season, especially if Deandre Swift is out, which it sounds like he's going to be. He's
Agreed.
had 12 targets the last 2 games, but
Crazy.
Each game, 24 total, 18 catches. He's got a touchdown, but he's putting up points. 24 points with the touchdown, 15 without against Denver. They've got Arizona, which isn't a phenomenal matchup.
But they'll be trailing.
Again, they're going to be trailing. They're going to be throwing the ball. But then you've got Atlanta and Seattle, which are not great pass defenses. And again, with DeAndre Swift out, they've got Jamal Williams, possibly. He's been hurt in addition to COVID. And then Craig Reynolds, who showed up 83 yards on 11 carries last week against Denver. But this offense isn't going to run through Craig Reynolds. It's and Hawk's been hurt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he becomes the number one receiving option.
There's no one else. Yeah.
There's no one else.
Well, and it's been funny because I've really pushed back a lot of times when we've highlighted these Lions wide receivers throughout the season. But here, Amon-Ra St. Brown, like they were lining him and Khalif Raymond out of the backfield last week because they don't have these RBs that they think they can trust catching out of the backfield. If we're going to see more of that, if TJ Hawkinson is out this week, I'm especially confident in Amon-Ra St. Brown. But he's probably the only person I think on the waiver wire this week that I have any confidence that I can start in my lineup.
Do you activate him off your taxi squad if you've got a taxi squad and he's still there?
If I need him, I would love to keep him on my taxi squad going into next year. I love having those second, third-year players. I actually just had to activate DJ Dallas after 2 years on mine this last week. But
how'd that work out for you?
Okay, well, it was between him and nobody. I had nobody else. Everyone else was hurt and on bye.
Dude, I played DJ Dallas last week. I get you.
Yeah.
I understand.
We all played DJ Dallas last week. Everybody.
Jen,
Everybody.
Who were your other options other off the top of your head? Do you know other than activating him?
I mean, not really. No.
Okay, no doubt. No, but if you need him, I won't be afraid to do it. It might be worth it.
Yeah, I've got him on 2 taxis. I'm gonna leave him there. I don't need him. So
dope. Well, Jen, before you get me fired up with yours, I would like to give the people my sure thing, if that's all right.
You bet.
I'm gonna go back to the well here with the guy we talked about a couple weeks ago, Van Jefferson for the Los Angeles Rams. Van Jefferson, he's been the wide receiver 11 since week 12, 6.7 targets per game during that span. When Robert Woods went down, not only did OBJ step in and step up, but also Van Jefferson did as well. And he's had TD in all 3 of those games, so we know the upside is there. Seattle this week, Seattle hasn't been a little stingier against the wide receivers as of late, but Brandon Cook still had a big game against them last week. He's very fantasy serviceable. And Brandon Ayuk and Terry McLaurin the weeks before had a good floor. So I think with that safe floor that Van Jefferson's going to provide and that ceiling, 15, 17 PPR points, he's a wide receiver 3 for me, and I feel confident in him heading into this pivotal Week 15 matchup.
I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
No.
Maybe Bo.
Bo probably will.
Bo's disagreeable about everything.
Yeah,
absolutely. Insufferable.
Other than good burden.
Yeah, true.
Jen, lay it on me. Week 15, lineups are in your hands. What can you recommend for us if we need someone, maybe even off the waiver wire to play?
So we have ex-Bronco Royce Freeman. Everyone, hold your fire. Hold your fire for a second. Last week, with Davis Mills stepping in and having a hell of a game last week, I truly expect Royce Freeman to start to shine. It's not pretty. Waiver wires are thin. He's probably still out there for the taking. I couldn't pull up ESPN numbers this evening just before we came on the show. He was 0% in sleeper. Now he's 2%. So somebody out there.
Yeah.
He's what?
He's 99+% available on ESPN.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. I did think I saw something about 0.5%. That's right. He's now 2% in sleeper. So I have other people on my same mind wavelength in the last hour who are picking him up. He looked great last week. He hasn't had a chance. I mean, I expected a lot from the trio there in Houston at the beginning of the season. I wrote about it in one of my first couple columns. I was excited about it. Philip Lindsay, I was excited.
Only one of them left.
Yeah,
right.
Nobody's left. But he did have 15 rushing yards, over 11 carries last week, 51 receiving yards, which I think is most important to think about when looking at Royce Freeman. Only 6 receptions, but he's a running back. So I don't know. Davis Mills had 331 passing yards and a touchdown. It's got to turn around for him and the team. Like, that whole team has been shaken up this year, and I think he's going to pick up the points.
There was no David Johnson in week 14.
Right, COVID.
If David Johnson is back, are you less confident?
Yes. Honestly, yes.
Would you still start him if David Johnson is back or no?
I I would only if I'm like playing him in underdog, because I'm gonna dart throw Royce Freeman. But again, the running back position is so thin with all these injuries and COVID and everything that it could be one of those things where it's like out of nowhere, Royce Freeman advances me to the next round of the playoffs. Like, there are crazier things that have happened.
Yeah, there are.
Who did I pick up? Adrian Peterson. Didn't he go out on COVID this last week? I was like,
I was trying to pick him up and play him over.
I have no one. Yeah. I have no one. And if I had better Wi-Fi, maybe I would have looked at Royce Freeman. I think I would have. Yeah. I would have been like, Royce Freeman. I know him.
Johnson's out.
Yeah.
Jen, I commend you. You were very knowledgeable. You were very persuading. That being said, I will not trust an Houston Texan running back with my fantasy playoff. I
get that.
Like, I'll play DJ Dallas again. I don't care. I will do anything to avoid playing this team's running backs. Like, maybe Sexy Rexy. If I need a play, like, gun to the head, Sexy Rexy. But that's it.
It's all painful.
It's all painful.
It's all painful. It all hurts. It all hurts.
This is week 15, baby. It all hurts.
Yeah.
It all hurts. Guys, I love the Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. We have just a couple minutes left in today's podcast. Let's go ahead and round it out with our weekly advice.
Weekly advice.
All right, guys. So I'm going to talk about something that I had a really interesting conversation with a fellow fantasy analyst the other day about. And the New Year's coming up, and we actually had a tip about this in our recent Between the Holidays tip column that came out on the website a few weeks ago. And that was about Mike Talanka, one of our analysts here at In Between. He said, don't wait for the new year to make that, to take that step, take that next step, whether it be in a relationship, whether it be in a job, whatever it is. Is there ever a good point that you know, that launch box that we're all looking for, or do you kind of just have to send it?
I mean, for me, if you have to ask, you're already there. Jump, take the leap. People who are happy don't ask those questions. And I'm not sure, you broke up a little bit there, and I don't know if that was just on my end, but in relation to the new year approaching and a tip from Mike Talanko about not letting a date dictate change, is there ever a good time for a specific launch box to know when to do something, when to take that step in a career or relationship? Yeah, I mean, if you have those questions, it's time.
Yeah. That's deep, Jen. That's deep.
She's right. And this is something I have learned from her specifically, because I always I held myself back, not just doing it. If you think it and you think it's going to be good for you, then just do it. Don't ask, is this the right time? Because I've wasted a lot of my life waiting for the right time. I almost didn't ask Jen out, and then she asked me out. So there you go.
I love that.
Kind of.
I love that. Guys, for those of you, if I did apologize, a little bit of internet connections tonight, but we are talking about, is there ever a good launching point or a start date in life, or do you kind of just have to send it? And Jen, I think you really articulated it well there. And, you know, I think so much in life, we're always looking for that perfect moment, that perfect time, whether it be a new year, whether it be summer, the fall, whatever it is. You know, being a young professional, we're always waiting for that. And, you know, I've learned a lot lately that there isn't. And you kind of just have to, you know, we're always looking in our mind for some level of excuse, you know, something to tell us, affirm what we feel in our heart. And that could take months, that could take years. I mean, Nate, almost 2 years ago now, you DM'd me out of nowhere, you know, wanting to become a part of In Between Media when no one was a part of In Between. It was really just me here. And look where we are today, man. Like, you know, like there was probably no launch box for you then.
No, I was bored. And it's like, oh, this is something I've always wanted to do. Okay, let's go. Very out of character for me at the time.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Sometimes you just got to do it. Like if
Yeah.
the opportunity presents itself, just go.
Yeah. Guys, I love this advice. I think we talk a lot about, pivoting and ready to adapt to any situation here at In Between Media. We're going to continue to do that all season long. I think in review tonight, we talked a lot from playoffs to life to everything really in between. I think it goes to show, there's a couple situations here in the NFL that were hands off until the end of the year. There's a couple situations out there, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Royce Freeman, Van Jefferson, we might be on here this week. Play your studs, don't get cute. If you're looking for that, something to tell you, now is the time to make that next step in your relationship, make that next step in your career, whatever it may be. Just do it. Just do it. Guys, I love that. Thank you so much for being here with me, not just tonight, but this entire season. It's been an absolute roller coaster, but I won't want to ride it with anyone else. So thank you, guys.
No, thank you, man.
Thank you.
We will talk to you guys next week. Good luck in round 1. We'll be back for round 2. Keep it in between until then, everyone.
The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
The one thing that really sets us apart here is we're not afraid to talk about other things that maybe aren't super fantasy related.
Do what you can to become a better person.